Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we got something very interesting. This is going to be a no-turn FTK, and if you guys don't know what that means that it is basically a first turn opener that's going to make it so your opponent does not get a turn. They literally cannot play Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not even like negate heavy, which is interesting. It's more so they literally don't get a phase. So that's how this build is actually going to be working. And it actually is surprisingly consistent because the Draitrons are able to go ahead and just act as some stepping stones to go ahead and make other things like Union Carrier over here. The important parts of this combo, by the way, are going to be the Guiding Ariadne to go ahead and have that monster effect. Whenever it's destroyed, you get to reveal 3 counter traps from your deck, and your opponent chooses one of them and gives them to you. You just reveal the same copy of every single one. If you draw it, then it's fine. You don't have to reveal it. You can skip out on the step. But that's what this card is for the consistency of going for that. Now, what we're going to go ahead and actually do is, so it actually pulls off a no-turn FTK, and to explain how it works. The Amorphage over here has the effect where if this card is Ritual Summon, your opponent skips their next main phase one. So they just go to draw to battle phase, and right when it goes to battle phase, you just end the battle phase and it becomes the end phase. So that's how it works. They literally do not get a turn. It just goes right back to you. And then obviously from here, you can go ahead and pop off, and then you have a free turn to do whatever. Even if we draw double bricks, because let's be honest, that's what these cards are essentially. Now, if you guys are thinking, oh wait, hold on, what if they happen to have a hand trap? Don't worry, we'll get into that. The deck can kind of play out of, I would say, 1. 2, it's a little bit iffy. It depends on what hand trap. Now, the deck is technically susceptible to cards like Nibiru, but Designator does exist, Called by the Grave exists. There are other ways to go ahead and counter it. But now, in this instance, we happen to have Parthian Shot in our hand. Again, this card is the main part of the combo that allows this really OP thing to go on, because again, when I think of any sort of deck that would be like your opponent doesn't play, it's usually because, again, cards that would just negate every single thing. Like you throw up 10 negates and then they don't really get to play at the end of the day. But there are other cards that can, potentially stop things. But this just inherently has that effect where they just, as long as it was Ritual Summon, which of course, because you're playing Draitrons, of course you're Ritual Summoning it. And then you just go ahead, and the other card's a trap card. And it's not the easiest thing to stop a trap card when your opponent happens to be going first, I would say. There's very few cards that would allow you to do that. But the Draitrons also happen to have the ability just to have mass amounts of attacks. So the following turn, you're going to be able to OTK quite easy. And he even threw up above the Goddess. So if there's any other thing, no one really plays like any, Agors in 2020 isn't a thing. But like I said, I want to go and show you guys a play just in case the opponent happened to have, a hand trap over here. We have Foolish to go ahead and set up. Opponent goes ahead and Ash Blossom. It's not even like we had another counter to this card, but again, you can counter hand traps, but a card like Nibiru would hurt quite a bit versus like Valor. Depending on when it's used, you can maybe play out of it. Because again, depending on what step that you're going for, maybe you're going for the trap card and you already happen to have one, and they just try to stop from Union Carrier activating its effect. Them thinking maybe you're going to go for some combo of that Apex lineup, they would stop this, and if you already have the card, it's fine. But it's just to show you guys that the deck is relatively consistent as the Draitrons. If you guys haven't played them, they can just use as stepping stones. Usually you're supposed to make like these cards. In fact, you can just go straight with the Draitron. Because you can search out this card, of course, with Arc, you can just go ahead and have extra consistency. So those are the 2 main cards, and then the following turn, you're going to be able to just go ahead and go for it. It's just really easy. Now, their effects of all of the Draitrons are only like once per turn for the most part, but you cycle through all of them. The next turn, you try to go through them. But in this instance, we're also showcasing off the Axis Code Talker in case they go ahead and set things, because that's very relevant in the game. Potentially, if your opponent somehow, there are technically cards when your opponent does something, you can special summon it, but in the off chance that they are able to go ahead and summon something, you have access to popping back row. Again, it's really rare because, again, they generally don't get a turn, so this is a no-turn FTK. It is so unfair to go ahead and see this. But now that you guys have seen it in action, let's go ahead and hop right into the deck profile. So, I want to give a huge shout out first off to Eiza Ygo for hooking me up with the gameplay as well as building this, because I think it's pretty unique. I haven't seen anyone talk about or cover this. In fact, I have covered Draitrons, but not in a way where it's a no-turn FTK. I like no-turn FTKs. Usually these are seen with the Arcana Force, the World. which I'm sure a lot of you guys, okay, maybe typing world. The world is probably a better thing to go ahead and type in. This one over here. This card is also another one of those cards where you can pull off no turn FTKs, but it does require you to, of course, you know, get the RNG, or you can run the second coin toss, whatever the case may be. But to pull these off, it's a little bit, I would say, less consistent than just using the Draitron engine to go ahead and go into combos with, let's say, Needle Fiber, Union Carrier to go ahead and pull that off. Again, you even saw the time where he actually had the double bricks, but no problem at all. But let's go ahead and hop right into the deck profile. In case maybe you guys do want to be, you know, those Yu-Gi-Oh players that just don't even give your opponent a turn. Like, it's not even negate everything, it's straight up, they don't even get a turn. So we got a Cyberframe Driver, we got 1 copy of Ariadne, 3 copies of Gamma, and then we got 3 copies of Diviner of Heralds over here, and 2 copies of the Gamma, and then 3 copies of Zeta, 3 copies of Ban Alpha. Maybe this card needs to be banned, Kappa. But then we have 1 copy of the Draitron Meteorus Dra, and then Draitron Meteorus Qua. And then we got, of course, the Amorphage Pain. This is the card that goes ahead and lets you skip your opponent's main phase 1. And then we have Benton over here. Just to go ahead and add that extra light fairy monster from your deck to your hand, which could also be another way to utilize the combo here. So 2 copies of that, then 3 copies of Where Art Fell, because they're all, it doesn't matter if you take like damage, because your opponent literally gets no turn. So they're not going to be OTKing you. Then we got 3 copies of Cyber Emergency goes ahead and lets you just search out a card. Then we have, of course, our Terraforming, then Foolish, and then 3 copies of Nova over here. This is just this go. It's just instantly special summon whatever you need to go ahead and go for. Then Draitron Meteorus, the Ritual over here. Lets you Ritual summon anything, but you're just really going for this most of the time. Then we have Called by the Grave, 3 copies of Fafnir over here. It's just the field spell that lets you go ahead and add a Draitron, which is just basically add 1 special summon 1 for the most part. It also has another effect where the activation of effects of ritual spell cards cannot even be negated, so it's a little bit more difficult for your opponent to maybe stop some of your plays too, if you happen to go second. I mean, obviously with an FTK deck, you have to go first, so that's why all the gameplay is going first, because it's a FTK no turn. And then we have 3 copies of Parthian Shot over here, which you have to play 3 copies of because you reveal 3 of them. If you draw 1, it's fine, like you guys saw in the gameplay, you just use it. And then for the extra deck, we got the Dragon of Red Eyes, we got the Elder Entity and Chest, we got 2 copies of Herald of Arclight, and then we got the Beatrice, Axis Code Talker, Above the Goddess, and then we have Unicorn, we have the Aurora Dawn, we have Phoenix, and then Lambda, and Halki Fibrex, Union Carrier, Masquerena, and that Link Karibo. Other cards that are really great for the deck, you can go ahead and consider in the deck as well, is we've got, of course, Nibiru, Ash, Veil. These are kind of standard things then. That Crossout Designator or Called by the Grave, you know, they're kind of, this is just overall, I would say, better for most people. But there's sometimes where this card is better, but if you do play this card, I would definitely recommend you to also play cards like Impermanence, because it could stop those as well. So it's fantastic for that. But anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. And if you are new here, make sure you guys are subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss out on any crazy Yu-Gi-Oh combos in the future. Once again, big shouts to Eiza Ygo for hooking me up with the gameplay. I'm leaving down below. Guys, go check him out and follow. He's actually really good at building some creative decks too. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next video. And I'm signing out. Peace.